All right, everybody, welcome. We are so excited to have you guys here today. If you guys can hear us before we get started, please go over to the chat box and say hello. Make sure you guys are all on here. We are a few minutes late because we were preparing some amazingness for you. We did not want to miss out on anything. All right, looks like Stu, they can hear us. This is awesome. Very cool. I want to welcome you guys to today's training. So this is going to be something I'm so excited for. So I'm going to be actually hanging out with Stu in Kenya in like a week and a half from today. Stu's one of my favorite people on planet Earth, one of my best friends, like just one of the coolest people on Earth. And for those of you guys who are at the funnel hacking event, any of the funnel hacking events, you've seen him and his beautiful wife there with all the work they do over in Kenya and World Teacher and a whole bunch of cool things. And so we're going to be going over there. We got, I think, two classrooms that ClickFunnels is sponsored that we're going to be checking out, right?
Yes, definitely. It's going to be awesome.
It's going to be cool. But that's besides the point, because today, the training for the next hour to 2 hours, depending on how insane we decide to get, is going to be all on membership sites. And I wanted to do this call selfishly for myself because Stu is not only one of my favorite people on planet Earth, he's also, in my opinion, the number one person on Earth when it comes to membership sites. Not only just getting members, but actually retaining those members. I remember last time we were in Kenya, I was showing you one of my membership sites and I was like showing you the numbers, which were like pretty impressive from like a number standpoint, but then like our retention was like, it's pretty not impressive. And Stu was like, I don't know if you know this or not, but he was showing me one of the membership sites they work on. He's like, year one, we were 1,000 members. Year two, we were at 3. And then and it kept going up. He's like, everyone else's membership sites go like up and then down. And Stu's goes like this the whole time. And I was like, I got to learn more of that part of it because that sounds way better. So that's kind of some of the stuff we're going to be going into. But thanks, man, for being on the call and hanging out and sharing all your amazingness with us.
Dude, I'm pumped, and I'm very grateful for everybody who's on this because obviously if you're on this call, you contributed, and you're having a huge impact on the projects that we're doing over in Kenya, which is going to be fun because with Russell coming, we're going to get like amazing video. We're going to be able to show everybody. And, dude, I'm pumped for you because not many people on this call probably know, but Russell was one of our very first contributors when it came to starting the charity. And so he's going to see the evolution of the schools that he contributed to a number of years ago, which is going to be awesome.
Yeah, we went, was it 4 or 5 years ago we went the first time?
Yeah, 4 years ago, I think.
So we saw like it was like everything was getting completed then. So we're going to go back now 4 or 5 years later and see like what's happened in the
community that's evolved. Yeah.
So cool.
And speaking of evolution, what we're going to be talking about today, membership sites have evolved dramatically. And that's what I'm excited about digging in because, some people know, some people don't. But where I learned the most about all of what we're going to share today was back in the day, back in 2008, I co-founded a company called Wishlist Member. And it became the largest membership site platform for WordPress. Now, the cool part about that was in a very short period of time, we were powering over 60,000 plus membership sites and online communities. And Russell, I was sharing this with you, I basically discovered that there were two groups. There was like the hobbyist. This was the group of people who launched a site to produce some side income, or it was a part of their business, but it didn't really have the main focus. And there wasn't a lot of strategy behind how they were both launching it and growing it and maintaining that membership. So yeah, their membership, if we want to get graphical, their growth curve kind of looked like that. And let me show you. Kind of looked like that. So they took off, and then it died down, and then just kind of like either leveled off or died off completely. And when I was sharing this with Russell, he's like, well, actually, a lot of them die off fast.
You think it's a slow death? I'm like, no, it's not a slow death most of the time.
Yeah, and then I discovered there was this group number 2. This was group number 1. Okay, so group number 2 was like this. This is their growth curve. So they would have spikes and they'd hold steady, spikes and hold steady, spike and hold steady. And this is the group that I call the business owner. Now, what they did differently is what we're going to be talking about here today. They had strategy around how they structured the membership, how they structured content and their marketing, and how they kept people happy and paying month after month. And in those scenarios, members were not staying for months. They were staying for years. That has a huge difference when it comes to the profitability of any site. And so that's what we're going to be pouring into you today. If you have a membership site, or you are thinking about starting a membership site, or it's never been on your radar before, but you like the idea of recurring revenue, well, you're going to love what we're going to be talking about today. And I'm just as curious, because I want to pick Russell's brain, because Russell, you have more experience, Russell, on the offline deliverables of a membership site. So like printed newsletters and things of that nature, which I get. I wish I had it. I should have grabbed it. I get it every month. There it is. I know. I was just going through it. So I'm curious to pick your brain on a lot of that stuff, and you do a lot more trials and things of that nature. I have not gone down that path, and we can talk about why. But so it's going to be fun. I think we've got a lot of experience on both sides, and we're excited to share it with everyone.
It's awesome, man. I'm excited too. This is going to be super fun. So I want to make sure you guys can all hear us. Do you still see me and Stu's head bobbling around? I do see my kids. I'm like, I'm bobblehead daddy. I go, and they think it's the funniest thing in the world. So if you guys can see bobblehead dad. All right, cool. let's just move forward. All right, cool.
We'll roll with it.
All right, so we've got an outline and structure we're going through. We've got 5 core things we're covering. Is that right?
Yeah, so basically what I learned was that there are 5 core strategies that contribute to a successful membership site. And the second part of the story is interesting, because once I dialed into this small group of business owners who were building 7- and 8-figure membership sites, I wanted a chance to basically take everything that I had learned and use it on a fresh new site. So I ended up partnering with New York Times bestselling author Michael Hyatt. And I took everything that I learned, applied it to that site. And in the first week, we had 1,100 members. After the first year, we had 2,500. After the second year, 4,500. After the third year, 6,000. And it keeps on growing. So the key thing for everybody to realize is that everything that I learned and everything that we're going to share absolutely worked, and it continues to work. And in fact, I could show you some emails I've just got recently from clients. One was Patty, who she's a former teacher, and one of the things that she realized was that teachers love lesson plans that are done for them, done for you lesson plans. So she was selling them one-off, and then she came to a workshop where I'm going to share exactly what we shared at the workshop, and she applied it, and she turned one-off sales into membership sales. She launched it to a small customer list. She had 923 members in the first month, Russell. Teachers wanting lesson plans. And so we'll talk about the different types of sites, why people stay, and all that kind of stuff. But the first area, the first core strategy is what I call the foundation strategy. So this is typically where you got to get super clear on a few key things. And I think what we'll do is I'll list all the strategies that we're going to dive into, and then we'll go deep into them. Does that sound good?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Okay, so the first one is the foundation strategy, and we'll talk about what that is in a minute. The second one is the content strategy. So this is really what you're going to deliver. The third is your marketing strategy. So how are you going to get people to sign up for your membership? The fourth is your retention strategy. So that's what are you going to do to keep people happy and paying month after month. And then the fifth one is your growth strategy. So what are you going to do to scale the membership, and what do you have to do or have to have in place in order to really scale the membership? So, boom, there it is.
There's a frame.
Foundation strategy, content strategy, marketing strategy, retention strategy, and your growth strategy. Awesome. All right, so Russell, you're really good at this. So I want to flip it and ask you some questions. When you're looking at starting a membership site or any product, you're really good at dialing into what the customer really wants and then really building a hook around that. You're probably, I've told you this before, but you're the best that I know at taking the most mundane thing and making it sexy and attractive and creating such a compelling hook that even if I don't want to watch paint dry on the wall, Russell would make it sexy, and I would be paying him so I could watch his paint dry. Yeah. So how do you start conceptualizing about like who you're going to be targeting, and how does that help frame up what you're going to be selling?
I think the biggest thing on my side that I try to think through is, and the problem with us as content creators and entrepreneurs is like when we're creating something, we're excited, right? Like it does this and it can do this and we got this and we got all this stuff, right? And everyone's just like, for us, it's like the more crap we can give people, the more excited they are, the more ideas and like all this stuff, right? And so the biggest problem we have as entrepreneurs when we try to sell our products is they're like our little babies. We're like, oh, we love all these little features and benefits. You want to like jam these down everybody's throat, right? And that's like the biggest problem that we have as entrepreneurs. So for me, I'm always like, okay, so we got a whole bunch of stuff, right? Like I looking at here's one of my bookshelves over here. You guys can see, and it wraps all around here. And then there's like 3 more bookshelves like that in the hall. Like I got a lot of books, right? So if I was gonna try to sell these books, which is like what most people do when they sell anything, I'd be like, okay, and there's a book about how to get traction in your business. There's a book about this, and there's a book, and like there's all these things, and we think that like, oh, when they see all this crap, they're gonna totally want to give us more money. And the reality is, when I'm selling something, I can't do that. Like I gotta look at this bookshelf and be like, of all these things, what's the one thing here that's the sexiest? Like I got to figure out that one thing. I remember I had a course. I kind of went overboard on this one. It was 2 4-day events. So it ended up being 8 days of actual content plus workbooks and all sorts of stuff, right? And so the first time I sold it, I was like, oh, I like took all this stuff and all these things, and like when we started selling, like the conversions were horrible. It was like the worst thing ever, and I was like so depressed. I'm like, do these people not understand what I'm giving them? And then I started thinking more and more through it, and I was just like, okay, I gotta find the right hook. Like, what's the best hook on this? So I went through and I rewatched the 8-day event, which was like insane. And I was taking notes on all the stuff that we talked about and everything. And then I was looking through, I'm like, of all these like 30, 40 pages of notes, like what's the one thing in here that's the sexiest? I was looking through it. And this was actually an event this was like a workshop on doing webinars and stuff. And like of everything, the sexiest thing was like, I think I spent maybe 15 minutes during the event talking about it. It was Armin Moore and Stack that I learned, which has been probably the things that made me the most money of anything in my entire life. And so I wrote the new pitch for this thing. All I talked about was the stack. I was like, look, there's this thing that I do, and this is how. And I talk about this thing called the stack. I learned from this dude named Armin, and I talk about it. And I was like, I covered it during this huge event. It was an 8-day event. Everyone, it was amazing, tons of stuff. But like, the stack is the key. If you have this one thing, everything else will just disappear. And when I changed it to like just selling the one little thing, people went nuts for it. And so for me, I'm always looking like when you're selling something, it's not like you want to like sell one thing. They come inside and like, wow, there's a bunch of they want to get over delivered. But like when I'm selling, I'm not over delivering. I'm trying to figure out like the one sexiest thing that I can tie a hook around, and that's the only thing I'm selling. And everything else, like, oh, by the way, you're gonna get a course and like, there's a bunch of stuff like this little piece. If you had this alone, everything else just becomes easy. So for me, that's like how I started thinking through. Is like of all this big bookshelf here, if I can only convince someone of one thing, what's the best thing I can convince them of? And that's where I'm wrapping my hook around, is that one thing.
I love it. I love it. And the thing that I love about it too is that it eliminates overwhelm, which, as you're going to hear once we get into the content stuff, like from my experience, this is important for everybody to write down. The number one reason that people cancel from a membership site is overwhelm. It's not because your content isn't good. It's not because they have no need for what you're selling or anything of that nature. It's because they're so overwhelmed by the sheer volume of stuff that you're giving them. And I'm going to talk about that because that definitely shapes the content that you create and how you structure your content. When it comes to the foundation strategy, and you do this a lot, I think, just naturally and intuitive, but one of the things, there's 2 things that I look for in any audience that I'm looking to go after. And I learned this from a guy named Don Miller. And Don Miller has a company called StoryBrand. And he basically teaches companies how to structure their marketing in a story format so that it naturally appeals to people, because we all love stories. You just went and watched Jason Bourne last night. I mean, that's a great story. In fact, I got to tell everybody, Russell sends me a message on Snapchat, and he's like, I'm here with Colette, and we're watching Jason Bourne, and I was thinking of you. And I was like, dang, dude, that's awesome. Like, I wish everybody, when they saw Matt Damon, would think of me. That doesn't happen. But anyway, one of the things, there's 2 things that I look for and when I'm going into any market. And this is what I learned from Don. He said, you want to learn their external problems. And this is what most of us know. Like, we know what the external problem is. The external problem is typically whatever people are going to go on to Google and search a solution for. So in ClickFunnels case, what are people searching for? They're searching for, how do I create an opt-in page quickly and easily? Or how do I create a funnel quickly and easily? Or how do I generate leads? Or how do I optimize my checkout page? But they're searching for a specific external problem. And it's typically always around, like, if it was business, it would be more leads, make more money. If it was like in health, it'd be like lose weight or whatever it is. But they're searching for a specific solution. So just imagine what your customer would be typing into Google. And Russell, I know you probably got a ton of ninja tricks to like help figure this out. But that's the external problem. And that's what most people market their products and services to, is solving the external problem. But there's another deeper layer to that. The second problem that you want to identify is the internal problem or challenge. Now, the internal problem or challenge is the conversation that people are having in their heads, in their minds. And so I'll give you an example. 2 years ago, when I sold my software company, when I sold Wishlist Member, it was growing like crazy. It was a multi-seven-figure-a-year business. We were still growing. There was tons of potential for it. But there was something inside of me that said, like, Stu, like, this is not the vehicle that's going to get you ultimately to where you want to go. So I had to make the really tough decision. It was one of the toughest decisions I've ever had to make in my career and my life, was that it was time to sell my share of that company. But here's the internal challenge that I had when I came to that conclusion. I started thinking to myself, well, wait a minute. What if Wishlist Member is a one-hit wonder? Like, what if I can't repeat the success that I had with Wishlist with my next thing? What if people no longer want to do business with me now because I'm no longer associated with this successful company? What if I'm putting my family at jeopardy? Or am I putting my family at jeopardy by making this decision? So these are all the conversations that are happening in my head that are keeping me up at night. And so the internal challenge is, like, what is your market thinking about when they go to bed that's keeping them up at night? And when you can identify those things, what happens is you connect with them at the heart. If you can speak to those things in your marketing and in the way that you position in this case, your membership site and ultimately your content, now you really start to make it easy on yourself, because selling when you connect with somebody at the heart is way easier than trying to sell to their logic, because for whatever reason they can't explain it, but they just love you. And I'll share an example of how I kind of do this. I usually start out, I'm just drawing my little homeschool diagrams here. So I draw like a bullseye like this, okay? And then in the middle, I typically start with the external problem. So like the external problem, let's just say, is that somebody wants to make more money, okay? So they want to make more money. Then I ask myself, so what? So the key question you're always going to ask yourself is, so what? So what? Why do they want to make more money? Well, they want more freedom. So freedom would go on the second ring, like that. So then I would say, okay, well, so what? So why do they want more freedom? Well, they want to spend time with their kids. Time with kids. So yes, again, so what? Why do they want to spend more time with their kids? Well, because they want to be in my case, a great dad. So what? Why do they want to be a great dad? And you can keep going around like this. And the more you go, the closer and closer you're going to get to the internal challenge. So somebody might want to be a great dad because maybe they had a great dad and they're trying to live up to the father that they had. Or maybe they didn't have a great dad and they're trying to break the chain, if you will, and they're trying to become the opposite. Whatever it is, the further and deeper you get, the more aligned you get with the internal challenge. And once you identify the internal challenge, or you think you know what it is, in your marketing, you want to spend time there, because that's where it's going to make it super easy for you to sell, because you're going to be entering that conversation that people are having. So that's one of the things that I like to talk about, or do an exercise on when I'm looking at going into a particular market. Like, what's the external problem? What's the thing that they're searching for to solve? And then what's the deeper layer to that? Like, why are they wanting to solve those things? Does that make sense, Russell?
Yeah, it's awesome. It's funny because most businesses, I don't think, ever get past the external, because that's what's like in front of our eyes, and that's what the data shows us, right? Like, oh, I can see keyword research, I can show stuff like that. But I agree 100% that it's the internal that gets people to buy and to stick and to stay. I'm in the middle of writing my second book right now, and actually yesterday we were working on this chapter, and there's a concept in there I want to share because it kind of relates this a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm gonna. This is a sketch out. This is a sketch out meeting. This is the battle of the sketches. So I learned this concept initially from Dagan Smith, and it's really cool. So I'm gonna kind of show it here. So if you think about, for all of us, right, we got into what we do for a reason, right? Like we didn't wake up one day and like Stu is a membership expert. I didn't wake up one day, I love funnels, and I wore t-shirts about how to build funnels. Like that's not how it started, right? Like we started over here, and this is us, right? And then
yours is already better. I mean, look at that. Look at that, ladies and gentlemen.
Hold on. You got eyes. All right, so this is us, right? And then we're living our life, and all of a sudden something happens. Like we're going on this journey, and all of a sudden something happens, right? Like I had this epiphany of like, oh, funnels are cool. Or you're like, membership sites are cool. Or if you're selling supplements, it's like, whoa, this thing actually helps. Some experience happened, right? And that experience gave us what we call an epiphany. EPHIPH. Epiphany. So we had this epiphany, right? And this is the key. We had this epiphany, and so we went over here, and all of a sudden, like, we got so excited about this thing that we came over here, and we started geeking out on it, right? So I'll put glasses on this dude because he geeked out, right? And he's like, "Oh, this is so cool!" And you like start learning all these words and this like marketing lingo for or whatever the lingo is for your business, right? So for me, it's like autoresponders, marketing automation, pixels, blah, blah, all this stuff, right? And we get all these words, and I have a friend. She wrote a book in the network marketing business called "If My Product's So Great, Why Will Nobody Buy It?" And she has a chapter in there, and she calls the title of the chapter is called Technobabble. And you're talking about how like all of us, like we get so excited, but we geeked out so much. We have all this, and we have this technobabble, right? So somebody comes to us and we're like, oh, you need a funnel. Like the funnel's going to be great. Like you got a funnel, you can siphon your customers through and your click-through rates, and you're going to get traffic. And we're like spewing this technobabble on our new customer, right? And they're like, what are you talking about, right? Because that's not what happens. And so this chapter, this chapter in the book that I'm writing, I'm talking about this concept of like, the problem is that we start here, we have this epiphany, and we end up over here. We geek out on the topic, and then this is what we're trying to spew down people's throats. And this is like the problem is this tech, and this is like the external, right? This is like
totally
all the stuff that people are searching for Google, right? If you want to be amazing, what you got to do is you have to like kill the technobabble, and you got to come back on this journey and rewind and think about like what was it that gave you that epiphany? Like in your example, it was like I want to be a good dad. And then what happened? Like why? And then what put you on this journey? And like the reality is like where you're at right now, your customers are right here right now. And they want to be where you at. Like they want to go on this thing. And so if they don't have the same epiphany that you had, they're never going to get over here. And so like our marketing is story based to get people to have the same epiphany we did. Like if you listen to anything I do, I'm always telling stories about, hey, let me tell you, like I check out like this thing happened, and I tell this whole process about how I had an epiphany. And my goal is not to like force this epiphany. I don't want to like you need a funnel, like because as soon as I do that, you have resistance. If I like tell this story about like my potato gun and like it wasn't working anymore because nobody was buying it, and I had this upsell, and suddenly I had a funnel, and all of a sudden they're making money. I tell this story, and all of a sudden like I share how I had my epiphany, and what happens at the same time is all of a sudden like you have this epiphany, and you're like, I need a funnel. You do need a funnel. You should get one. Like. And if you can create an experience where they have an epiphany, that's the key, right? And so this is like
totally.
This has been like my big thing. And so when you're talking about external, internal, I was thinking like this is so much the external, and this is where most of us start our business from, and it's wrong. Like if we can step back and remember how you got to where you are right now, and remember what epiphanies and what stories and what conversations happened for you to get there, and you're sharing that. That's the internal, like that's what gets somebody to move, and they'll come over here and they'll geek out with you and go deep after the members and all that kind of stuff. But initially, to get them in and get them engaged, it's that internal. Anyway,
and it's so true. It's because like that epiphany, that's what connects them here at the heart, right? And that is people are way more committed to any, especially when it comes to membership sites, they're way more committed to a membership site if they've had that epiphany that has affected them here. If it's all up here, they're going to look at it logically. And it's, there's so many things that are not in your favor if they are all up here in their head. But if they're committed here at the heart, that's where the real magic happens as it relates to membership sites.
Try to find my wall, because I'm just like, you're right. Like logic is like one of my sales guys always says, if you put your wallet in your pocket, he's like, your wallet's closer to their heart than your brain. And so if you're selling with your brain, like it's a lot further than if it's anyway.
Totally, yeah, totally. It's like the heart is where it's at, and so that's why I camp out there. And so like when we're talking about the foundation strategy, the most important work that you can do is like identifying the external and internal challenges, or in Russell's case, identifying the epiphany bridge. Like, what is your epiphany bridge? Because if you don't do that, it's going to be very difficult to craft content that is going to help serve, your customer or your client or your member. And so what I want to do is I want to give you there's 4 reasons that anybody would join any membership site. There's a whole bunch of them, but essentially there's 4 main ones. Would you like to know what those are?
I do.
This is the Zeitgeist effect. You talked about this on Snapchat. See, I'm used to it. I'm practicing it, Russell. Okay.
Practicing.
Yeah. So here's the 4 reasons that people join. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna draw this out. We're gonna go back to our little charts again.
Now you got up your game.
Yeah. I'm. Let's see.
While you're drawing that, by the way, you guys, this is the picture of the one thing that I drew for the book. So the big domino is the one thing that knocks over all the little dominoes. This is the stack in that case. I pre-sketched these out, Stu, so not to put them up on.
Yeah, well, thanks a lot. Well, hang on, let me just wheel in my, super duper. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to give you 4, and then I'll show you on this little chart how they kind of stack up. Okay, the 4 reasons. The 4 reasons that somebody joins any membership site. I'll give you what they are, and then I'll explain them, and I'll tell you which ones are the most valuable. Okay, the first reason that somebody would join any membership site is because they have a need. So number 1 is need. Number 2 is mastery, because they want to master some subject. Number 3 is community, because they want to belong to some community. And number 4 is entertainment, because they want to be entertained. So let's dig into these and unpack these. The most powerful membership sites are built to serve an ongoing need. Let me give you an example. When my wife and I got together, we discovered that we have something in common. Yes, we were both born in England. That was the first thing we discovered. But after a little while, we also discovered that neither of us like to cook. In fact, we both hate to cook. We love to eat, but we hate to cook. So this was a problem, because when we got married, Amy and I would literally have like a standoff at nighttime. Like it was like this unsaid competition where we would hold out for as long as we could, hoping that the other person would get hungry first, and by default, then they would make dinner for 2. And so it was like every night it was like this, this standoff. Yeah. Are you hungry? No, I'm good. And secretly inside, like your stomach's just rumbling and you get like the hunger aches. Well, then what would happen is like, obviously one of us would give in and we'd go and make dinner. But because we hated cooking, we would eat the crappiest food. Like it was always like those microwavable dinners. And like, I mean, honestly, dude, I feel like puking right now just thinking about the stuff that we used to eat. but it was just like it was grab something out of the freezer, throw it in the oven for like 20 minutes, or grab something out of the freezer and put it in the microwave. Like, it was disgusting. So then, but we were just damaging ourselves at that point, and we didn't really care because, again, it was food in our bellies and it was fast. But then when we had our daughter Marla, we kind of changed our whole perspective on this, because we're like, as good, if we want to be good parents, we cannot feed her what we are eating ourselves. Like, something has got to change. Otherwise, she's not going to grow up in a healthy way whatsoever. So I went on to Google, and this is where, like, my external challenge was, I typed in how to make healthy meals fast. So how to make healthy meals fast. And when I typed that in, I came across a site called the Fresh 20. In fact, Russell, if you wanted to bring it up, you could probably go to this site, thefresh20.com.
Okay.
And what they do, this was back several years, over 5 years ago. So when I landed on this site, they basically offer a couple things. Meal plans. So every single day of the week, they would give you a meal plan for what you're going to eat that week. So they thought through all the things that you're going to eat. Then they gave you, there it is, boom, the Fresh 20. Then they also gave you the shopping list. So I wouldn't have to think about, like, oh, okay, these recipes have got all this stuff, and then I'd have to go through and figure out what I'm going to need to go buy. They would give you the shopping list. So I was literally in the grocery store with my phone, like, just grabbing the things that they told me to get. And then they would give you the step-by-step of how to prepare those meals. And their promise was fresh, fast meals in 20 minutes or less. At least it was at the time. Now they've expanded. Now they've got meal plans for all different kinds of, like, diets and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, I signed up for this. And it became something that I literally needed every week, because I didn't know what to cook or what to make. All I did was I just followed what they told me to buy. And so I would go to the grocery store and I would just buy everything they told me to buy on the shopping list. And then I'd come home and I'd literally, like, make the first dinner that they told me to make, and I would do it exactly how they told me to do it. And it became part of like a habit and like a routine and a ritual. And so it became something that I depended on week after week after week. And so that's the perfect example of a membership site that's based around a need. And it's an ongoing need where I'm never going to stop that, because I'm always going to have the need once it becomes part of my ritual or daily routine. Does that make sense, Russ?
100%.
Okay, now here's the biggie size of this site. So now we're fortunate because we have somebody who helps prepare our meals. So that's like the next level. Yeah, that's the upsell. But what we do is I belong to another membership site. And this membership site, they deliver fresh organic vegetables and fruits every Thursday. So we'll be getting a box. It may come during this presentation. It's called Organic Live. I don't know if it's in the States. It's for us here. It might be maybe organiclive.ca.
You Canadians get all the cool stuff. We get nothing.
Yeah. There you go. Organics Live. Okay.
Man.
So they deliver, like, fresh organic vegetables and fruits right to our house, a box of it every single week. And so this is another membership site that we now belong to. And we love it because it's cheaper than going to the grocery store, and it's way more convenient. So it's become like an ongoing need for us that we're never going to cancel this thing. I mean, like, we're a lifetime customer. And we haven't belonged to this for months. We belonged to this for years. So the highest, most successful membership sites are built around an ongoing need. We can unpack that a little more, and we can talk about, like, how to make your membership site more catered to a need, but let me get into some of the other ones.
Cool.
Most information-based membership sites are catered around the second one, which is mastery. This is typically where like somebody is looking to master a particular subject. So I would say, Russell, yours would fall into this bucket. This would fall into the mastery bucket. So typically in this bucket, people are looking to master a certain skill, and no matter how much they learn, they can always learn more. Like somebody who gets really good at the guitar, they're not done learning. Like there's no finish line to them learning. They're always going to want to learn more. There's always more styles they could learn. There's always more like riffs they could learn. There's always more to learn. Marketing. You just said that you got, you know, the big bookshelf behind you. You got like hallways. I mean, in 2 years, Russell will be buying homes just to store all of his books. You know, it'll be like his own.
I spent $7,500 this week on marketing courses. I'm an addict. I can't stop.
Right, but that's what makes you so good, though, because you're constantly learning and you're constantly investing in yourself. Like, you and I both know, Russell, people who were highly successful, let's say 5 to 7 years ago, in the online space.
Irrelevant.
But they're totally irrelevant now. And I would challenge to say that one of the main reasons is because they stopped learning. And so mastery is not something that we just, you know, there's a start and an end. There's milestones, definitely, but mastery is something that's ongoing. So typically most information-based membership sites would fall into this bucket. What we've got to do is we've got to do things that also, actually, no, I got to pause right there. I'll just go on to the next one, and I'll come back to that. Okay, so number 1 is need. Number 2 is mastery. Number 3 is community. Did you know that there are membership sites that have been around for years, and they've literally got thousands of members, and all it is a forum. All it is literally just a discussion area. Because here's the reality. We all have our quirky interests. Like I'm super quirky. I know Russell is. Like look at his pantry. I mean, it's like full of, you know, goodness knows what. I mean, look at these things. Yeah, I saw you putting that on, like sticking stuff up your nose, and I don't want to see the next contraption that has the next light that goes in other holes. I mean, that's just pushing it too far, buddy. But this is what I'm saying. Yeah, you know, Russell's got all these like contraptions in his house. Like we all have. I've got them too. Like I'm obsessed with the Mini Cooper. Like that's my car. Like it doesn't matter. You can put like a Porsche, a Ferrari. It doesn't matter. Give me a Mini Cooper. That's the only car I'm. You know, look right behind me. Yeah, see, I'm obsessed. So you know, we're all quirky in our own little sense. But the great thing about the internet is that no matter how quirky we are, we can find other people who have the same quirkiness, you know, who have the same interests. But in our little town, like, we're isolated, we're lonely, we're like probably the only one with those interests. But that's what makes the internet so amazing. We know this intuitively, but what the real magic comes is that when you identify like a subject area where people feel lonely, just having a place that can bring them together can be tremendously powerful. And it's another big reason that people will join a membership is just to be around other like minds. So that's the community. Now the fourth one, this one is entertainment, and you see examples of this all the time. Like Netflix is the perfect example of a membership site that's built around entertainment. Now, the interesting thing, if we just talk about like the I call it the recurring revolution, where we're seeing this shift of all these big companies who are moving towards subscription-based models. The perfect example of like the old and the new is Blockbuster and Netflix. You know, in 2004, Blockbuster was a $6 billion a year company with over 60,000 employees. I mean, like they were the clear market leader. Then there was like this little startup called Netflix. And Blockbuster even had a chance to buy Netflix. But they were like, nah, it's like got this stupid subscription model. Wow, we don't like subscriptions. Literally 7 years later, okay, this is the crazy stat. 7 years later, Blockbuster went from $6 billion to bankrupt. Netflix went from a fledgling startup to over $7 billion and 74 million monthly recurring subscribers. Crazy. So that's one good example of an entertainment site. Spotify is another good example. I mean, and I'm sure that we can all think of others. But here's the thing for you and I. Entertainment-based memberships are the hardest to put together. They take a lot of upfront capital and investment. I mean, I've seen a few people, like I'm talking like enough maybe on one hand. I've seen thousands and thousands of membership sites. I've only seen a few people be able to pull off an entertainment-based membership site. One was a podcaster, and actually they were a couple, and they had a really popular podcast, but it was free. So they were giving the content away for free. And they successfully transitioned to a paid membership where they basically create the same type of shows, but in a paid membership. So they successfully bridged that. But I've seen very few others be able to do it solely based on entertainment. Okay, so now, here's what I want us to look at. I'm going to give you guys a little chart here. Okay. Okay, here we go. So if we were to graph this out, this is what we would see. So need is up here. This is the best place that we want to be. It's got these types of sites make the most money and they have the highest retention. The next level is mastery. Makes the most money. It's lower in retention because you got to work harder on the mastery. We'll talk about that. Community-based sites, once somebody's in a community, really high on retention, but typically you can't charge that much just for a community-based membership. Now, entertainment I put down in this lower corner. For the sites that we know, like the Netflix and the Spotify and stuff like that, it's usually really high on retention. But these types of sites for people like us are really hard to create. So that's why it's the lowest in terms of retention and in terms of money. So when we're designing a membership site, as much as possible, we wanted to design it around serving an ongoing need and or helping people master a particular subject. Now, what I typically like to do is I like to have a primary and a secondary focus. So a primary, for example, like when I developed and partnered with Michael Hyatt and built his membership site, Platform University, our primary was mastery. Our secondary was community. Does that make sense, Russell?
Yeah.
So when you're looking at having a focus for your membership site, have a primary and a secondary. So for us, it was mastery, secondary is community. But you could have like primary be a need and then community or something like that. But you want a primary and a secondary focus. And so, again, this is all under the foundation strategy. We've gotten deep on this foundation strategy stuff. Maybe we should probably move on a little bit. But the key point is that you're getting real clear about like the type of membership site that you're looking to create and how it's really going to serve people so that they're going to want to stay for a long time thereafter.
Awesome.
So for you, Russell, what would you say is your primary focus for yours?
Well, I've got two. So ClickFunnels is definitely need number one and community number two. And then Funnel University, I would say, is mastery number one. Maybe entertainment. I'm not sure number two on Funnel University.
Yeah, well, ClickFunnels is a perfect example of the need, right? Like, I mean, once somebody starts using ClickFunnels, they're never going to stop. And they're never going to switch to anything because it's so dang easy and so dang good. And you guys are always improving it. That's a perfect example. And I bet you've got much better retention on ClickFunnels than any other type of membership site that you've ever created in the past, right?
Oh, by far. By far.
Exactly. So now, here's a couple quick little ninja tricks that I'll share with people who, if you've got an information-based membership, how do you create a need? Well, several years ago, I was talking about this with a mutual friend of ours. Do you remember AJ Brown?
Yeah.
Russell?
Yep.
He's such a great dude. So I was talking with him, and he's had a membership site for years, and he teaches people in the financial, like stock trading kind of stuff. And so his site, I think, is at tradingtrainer.com. But anyway, one of the things that he did to incorporate more need into his information-based membership was he created tools that people became dependent on in order to trade their stocks the way that AJ taught them. So, for example, he taught them this process of how to identify, certain stocks that they want to trade each day. And the old way of doing it was to go into the newspaper and look at the stock tickers and do all kinds of, manual stuff. I don't know. It's not my area.
Something like that.
It's something like that. They look at stuff. But anyway, it was like a 15 to 20-minute process. Well, then what AJ did was he created a piece of software that took that 15 to 20-minute process and cut it down to like 30 seconds. So literally they could go into the membership, they could use this piece of software, and it would do the same task in about 30 seconds versus 15 to 20 minutes. Then what he did was he taught his members how to use that piece of software so that it became part of their daily stock trading habits and rituals. And so what happened is the only way they could get that software was if they belonged to the membership. If they canceled the membership, they wouldn't have access to that software, so they'd have to go back to doing it the manual way. So people didn't ever want to leave because it became part of their habits and their routine. So that's just one particular strategy as far as creating more of a need for an information-based membership. All right.
I remember Bill Glazer used to always tell me, he's like, you got to create pain of disconnect inside of your membership site so that there's, because if it's just information, they're like, okay, well, that's why at Funnel University we've got, I think, 4 software tools now. We keep adding new ones. They're not like groundbreaking things, but they're really useful tools that if you start using them, you're like, wow, like this is pretty cool. I should just keep paying it because I don't want to lose that. So
totally,
pain of disconnect is big, which is why I like click.
Yeah, and then
disconnect.
And then under the foundation strategy, other things to think about is like the type of membership site you want to create. So, there's different types of sites. Like there's what I would call the publisher model, which is where you're publishing content on a regular basis. There's what I call a UPS model, which is where like you're delivering a package of content. So then there's a community or coaching or a modular. Yeah, UPS would be exactly that. Or there's a combo of any of each. But there's a bunch of different types. Then you also get clear on like the pricing strategies. And Russell, you're really good at this. I've identified 7 different types of pricing models. And I would love to pick your brain on one of them. So I'll quickly vamp on them for everybody so you can write these down.
Yeah.
And then I would love to get your thoughts on particularly number 7.
The best one, I'm sure.
So the first type of pricing is just monthly. It's just straight up where people are paying you month in and month out. Second pricing model is monthly with an annual option. So people can pay you month after month, or they can pay up front with an annual option. Third is just an annual option. The fourth is an upfront fee with an ongoing monthly. So sometimes you'll see this where, maybe you get charged $300 up front, and then it's $50 a month thereafter. The fifth pricing model is a one-time access fee. So essentially they're paying a one-time fee to have lifetime membership. The sixth pricing model is what I would call a fixed term membership. So they would say like, this membership is a 6-month membership. So it lasts for 6 months. So you pay either monthly or weekly but it has a definitive end period. And the 7th pricing model is a trial plus a monthly. So a low dollar trial, like a $1 trial, then it rolls right into a monthly. And Russell, I know that you have experimented a lot with trials. The reason I have stayed away from it with the membership sites that I've built is because I found that it attracted a lower quality member. And so we would get more members in, but they were all the people that were bailing and leaving and or causing problems. It became a support nightmare. So for me, like I ended up shying away from it because I tend to everything in my life, I don't want stress. I want to eliminate or decrease stress, and so that created stress for me. But you got a lot of experience with it, and so I want to learn, like, how have you made trials work? Because I know you have.
Yeah. So my experience is, first off, you'd be very careful trials for some reasons you said, but also there's just like, even if you look back, like, man, 7 or 8 years ago, everyone's doing like these sneaky trials, right? Where it's like, oh, buy my thing, and then by the way, you'll get, and like there's this really negative connotation to that. And back then, that's what we used to do everything, and there's all sorts of problems, that right? A lot of support issues and chargeback issues and merchant account, and so we stopped doing any kind of that a long time ago. And we took like probably a 4 or 5 year hiatus. We didn't do any membership sites at all. And then I started doing membership sites again. And like the biggest thing I found is like selling a membership site's hard because it's like you're signing up for this thing that's gonna be every single month. It's like it's kind of a hard sell. And so I like to just like to make it easier. Plus, like I feel like it's almost like the marriage commitment. Like, hey, Stu, you're amazing. You are so cool. We should get married, right? And you're like, whoa, wait, hold on. And so like I've got to sell you more. Like I've got to do more, I feel like. And so what we started doing, I think about a year and a half ago, we maybe 2 years ago, we started our new continuity thing. And I was like very like, I don't want to make this like, oh, buy this cool thing. And, oh, by the way. And so I remember my headline, it was get this marketing gift for free when you join my $50 a month newsletter. Like I wanted in the headline, like it's $50 a month. And then we made this really cool package. It had a t-shirt, it had a bunch of things, and it was kind of how we did it. And I liked it just because it's like it gave me something cool to market to. Like I could go on Facebook and be like, hey, here's this cool gift. You get this when you join my $50 a month newsletter. It's just like it's a tangible. And that's why in Funnel University you get like the Funnel University Black Card, which, and then you get you get this, and you get I even wrote a book around it. Like this is our kit now, right? And you get this for free when you cover shipping. And I think you get, I can't remember, 7 to 14 days. But like this is fun to promote. Like, hey, go get this book, get this thing for free when you join my newsletter. And it gives me something tangible in my marketing. So it makes it easier for me to go out there and do joint ventures with people, to send out emails to my list. And so that's why I'm a big fan of it. It's just because it's a tangible to market, as opposed to membership site, which is more intangible. It's like, oh, this community and this cool, there's a lot more to do. And so that's kind of why I do it a lot of times. So,
and one of the things that I've learned from you over the years is just you're so good at stacking the upfront value, like that. Like you make the offer such a no-brainer, and this is the key for everybody when it comes to membership sites. You have to understand the mentality of people coming into it. Like their mindset, getting Russell's offer, is that whether he wants to admit it or not, he knows it. But their mindset is, I'm just going to sign up for the first month just to get all this stuff, and then I'm going to cancel. And we need to know that. We're like, as membership site owners, we need to know that. But here's the good news. Like the first hurdle is you got to get them in. Yeah. But once you get them in, then you got to knock their socks off. And we'll be talking about that in just a minute.
You read this book and you're like, holy crap, this is good stuff.
Exactly. Like, dang, this is amazing. Like, I wonder what he's going to give next month. Like, actually, I got the perfect example. 1 second. You're going to laugh at this. Hang on 1 sec.
I have no idea what he's going to bring back, but I'm so excited to find out. I'm curious how many of you guys from the webinar got this book and read it. It was like, I can't believe Russell gave this thing away for free. And then next month you got this, and you're like, this is awesome too. Anyway, that's why we do it.
Dang it. I can't find it. I had it here in my office. But when I did quickly circle around, just a total aside, check out this old thing.
Oh,
look at that. Remember that, Russ?
Back in the day, I used to be bald.
way back machine. Okay. Basically what I was trying to find it. I thought I had it here in the office. But one of the very first membership sites that I signed up for was brilliant because the upfront value was just stacked, exactly like what we're talking about. I was starting my career as a motivational speaker. I was speaking to high school and college students. And I went to this workshop, and basically the whole workshop was like how to build your speaking business. And the bottom line of it was, if you have products to sell, you'll dramatically increase your per speaking engagement revenue. I didn't have any products to sell. So then there was an offer that basically if you join this membership site, which was $300 a month, and at the time, like I had just graduated university. Like I did not have $300 a month. But the offer was so compelling. And he said, like, basically, I will give you the recording rights to these courses that I have created on a bunch of generic subjects. So no matter what you're teaching, these courses are going to be relevant. They were on things like success and time management, blah, 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 blah. So my mindset was, okay, I'm just going to sign up for the first month, and I'm just going to get one course, and I'm going to record that, and that's going to be my product, and then I'm going to cancel. So sure enough, the first month comes, and I get the course that I can have recording rights to. But he over-delivered. He gave me chapters 1 through 12 of a second course, and it was clear that in the second course there was 24 chapters. So I got 1.5 courses, and I was like, yeah, I can't cancel. I'm just gonna stay on for the second month and get this, get the second half of the second course. So second month comes, another $300, and I get the second half of the second course, and then I get the first half of the third course. And I was like, gosh, this guy's killing me. And so I stayed because, you talked about it earlier this week, Russell, on Snapchat and stuff, but like we naturally want to close the loop. Like our minds naturally want to close the loop. And this, by the way, we'll get into retention, but this is one of the most powerful retention strategies is when you have what I call overlapping content. So you overlap your content from one month to the next. So people naturally want to see how it ends or how it concludes. And this is exactly what he did. But the value up front was stacked so high that it made sense for me to join. And we all need to know that when people join our membership sites, the natural thing that they're thinking is, I'll join for 1 month, I'll get all this good stuff, and then I'm going to cancel. But that's totally fine, because what that does is that gets them in the door, and then it's our job to knock their socks off thereafter. All right. I appreciate you sharing that on the trial stuff, because you are one of the best at stacking that upfront value and making it so attractive on the front end to get people in.
The other thing interesting is because you had one of your things which was monthly or an annual. So if you look at the Funnel University page, again, the tangibles, like get the free thing, or you get this free thing when you join the.
Can you pull the page up so we can see it?
Yeah. It might be hard. Everyone put your wallets in your pockets.
I'm already a member, so I've let myself off the hook. I can be seduced because I'm already in.
All right. So Funnel University, let me show you everything you join Funnel University today. You're going to get all this stuff. So Funnel University is the offer. I'm talking Funnel University. You're going to get the black card when you join Funnel University. You can get this when you get. So it's all about Funnel University. You get all for free today. And then down here, we had 2 options, right? So we had the yearly kit or the monthly kit on the left hand, and then the yearly kit on the right hand. And what's interesting, I can't remember the stats, but I think 11 or 12% of the people took the yearly version. And we never even talked about the yearly. I don't even mention it ever. It's just when they get here, they're like, oh, cool, I'm going to be in anyway. And they just do it. So we kind of have both options there as well.
Yeah, well, it's so attractive. I mean, like you're paying $197 for the month, or you pay $597 for the year. I mean, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, it's awesome. So that's kind of how we did our pricing. So it's kind of a blend of those of 7 and 1-ish, or 2. Sorry, 2. So 7.
All right. So here's the thing for everybody. This is all under like the foundation strategy. I mean, we could camp out here for quite a while. Yeah, exactly. But I want to move on because but the foundation strategy is important. You got to get clear on who you're marketing to, what problems you're solving, because that's going to influence the next thing, which is your content. And you also want to get clear on your structure and the type of site that you're going to create, because that too will influence the content. So let's jump to that, the content strategy. Okay, here's the thing. I hope people wrote it down when I said it the first time, but I'm going to say it again. The number one reason that people cancel from any membership site, do you remember what it is, Russell?
Too much content.
Yes, overwhelmed, too much. So oftentimes, like as membership site owners, we get in our own heads. We think, oh, I'm just going to pack as much content in there, and the more content I give, the more value I'm creating. Wrong.
They
What
think about it,
happens?
it's the reason why like you get a library card for free because you walk in, you're like, holy crap, everything in world's in here. Like my sister the other day was asking about my library. I was like, I don't think we have libraries in Boise. Like, I've never been like, yeah, everything I ever want to know is probably in there, but like we don't go because it's so much stuff. So
Totally. Yeah, it's totally it. And that's exactly what happens. And here's the important thing. The moment that somebody feels overwhelmed or they feel like they can't keep up with your content, what happens is a seed of doubt is planted into their mind. And the moment that that seed is planted, it's a matter of time before they're canceling. And so let me share with you how to just a foolproof way to structure your content that will completely eliminate overwhelm, and it will actually provide you tremendous structure. Okay, so I kind of formed this and discovered this about a year and a half into the membership site that I was growing with Michael. And one of the things that we started looking really closely, we had great retention. Like our retention rate, the industry standard, typically people are losing anywhere between 15 to 20, sometimes even 25% of their members per month. I've seen some membership sites as bad as they're losing 45 to 50% of their memberships every month, which is horrible. Anyways, I digress. Our retention at the time, we were losing about 8% of our members per month.
awesome.
So I was like, there's still room for improvement there. And I want to find out, like, what's the number one reason that people are canceling? So every time somebody would cancel, we were surveying them. We were finding out, like, why were they canceling? And almost every time it came down to overwhelm was the number one. And the second reason was I couldn't see how this was relevant for me. And which was crazy because, like, we knew a lot about our members, and we're like, what do you mean this isn't relevant? Here's how you use this, and here's how you use this. And I felt myself getting defensive. I'm like, what are they talking about? Like, this content's amazing. Like, of course it's relevant, and here's why. But that's not their problem. That's not their responsibility. It's my responsibility to show them how it's relevant. And so what we did was we created what I call a success path. This is really important. I'm going to show you here what this looks like.
Just the name of that makes me go, oh, that's awesome. I don't have that in front of you. Or ClickFunnels, actually. That's interesting.
This will be definitely relevant for you in Funnel University, Russell. So a little, this will be when you implement this in Funnel University, you will see your retention go up. Okay. So when somebody joins your membership site, they're coming in and they're all at different levels. Like Funnel University, you're going to get the brand new person who is just hearing about funnels for the first time. You're going to get the elite marketer who has been marketing online for 5, 7, 10 years maybe. So you get all these people at different stages, and it's really hard to create content that's going to appeal to different people at different stages unless you have a success path. So let me share this with you. So basically, think of it like this. I want you to draw a line all the way across a page, and on the left-hand side is where they are. On the right-hand side is where they want to be. Okay? So this is like the journey. This is where they are, and they want to get over here. And what we've got to do is we've got to show them the path that they need to take to get from where they are to where they want to be. And typically, what we did in Platform University is we broke that down into 5 stages. So Michael Hyatt's membership site is called Platform University. And what we did, we taught people how to grow their influence and build a business around the message that they want to share. And so we broke it down into 5 stages. And we said there are 5 stages to platform growth. And then we gave them the stages. So we told them, okay, this is stage one. If your business looks like this, you know, blah, 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 you're stage one. If your business looks like this, blah, 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 stage two, stage three, stage four. These are what I call milestones, okay? So every success path has specific milestones along the way. And the reason this is so important is because it gives people a clear direction. And it gives them a way to make the content that you're delivering relevant for their situation. So what happened is we created this success path, and we said that there are 5 stages to platform growth. And what we would do is when somebody joined the membership site, we would give them a little survey. And I know you're, you know, Funnel University just sent out a whole thing on quizzes and surveys. Well, that's for the front end. This is for the back end. plug. Okay. So this is like a survey on the back end, and you ask. What you're trying to do is you ask your members a bunch of questions, and you're trying to identify like what stage they are at. And so we would ask them a bunch of questions, and we would say, okay, based on your answers to this question, it looks like you're at stage 2. Based on the fact that you're at stage 2, these are the most important things that you need to focus on right now in order to get to the next stage. And so we would give them specific lessons and trainings that were inside the membership site that were most relevant to them right there and then. And what happened is it took like the overwhelm of like this membership site with all this content, and it just went, here's where to focus. And that's like a breath of fresh air for people. At that point, they realized, I don't need to know everything. I just need to know the few things that are most important to me right now. And so what happened is then we began structuring the content around these areas. And what we discovered, because we surveyed our members, we found out that most of our members were in stage 1, 2, then 3, but then it trickled down heavily from there. Like there was very few that were like advanced members, and there were very even and there was few. There's a little bit more that were like at a stage 4, but the vast majority of our members were in stage 1 or 2. And so that told us where we needed to put our focus in terms of the type of content that we're creating. Does that make sense, Russ?
Yeah, that's awesome. Super.
And so what we then did was we created this. So there's 2 types of content that you want to create. The first content is what I call core training. So Russell, I would probably say that like the package that you send people in the mail, that could be considered core training. Like it teaches the 3 major types of funnels, right?
Yeah.
So for like anybody that's wanting to learn about funnels, like it's imperative that you understand what those 3 core funnels are. That would be Russell's core training. But in a membership site, you and I, we've all got to create a core training. So what we did was we created a core training based around this success path. So we taught like what the 5 stages are, and we taught like where the focus should be for each person at each stage. And that was our core, that's our core training that everybody gets when they join the membership site. Because then from there, it makes the rest of the content relevant based on where they're at. So the first type of content you need is a core training. The second type is your ongoing monthly training or content. Now, depending on what type of site that you pick, whether it's a publisher, UPS, community, blah, 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 will dictate the type of content you develop. Same with, remember when we talked about the primary reasons, the need or mastery? Like if you've got a membership site that's based around a need, it is super easy because your content is essentially the same thing every month as long as it's fulfilling that need. Like you look at the Fresh 20, by the way, that membership site, I spoke with the founder of that site 2 weeks ago, and I'm going to be doing a Facebook Live with her in a few weeks. That site is now approaching 8 figures. It's very close to an 8-figure site, selling recipes and shopping lists, for crying out loud. Like it doesn't need to be difficult, right? But for them, they're selling the same thing month in and month out. Okay, but for most of us, we're going to probably develop a publisher membership, which is where we're publishing content on a regular basis. That's what I would say Funnel University is. Now, you deliver offline content. Mm-hmm. But if it's online, here's what I recommend. I recommend you have 4 major pieces of content per month. 4. That's it. And the reason I'm suggesting that you only have 4 major pieces of content per month is so that you have one primary focus per week. That makes it manageable. That makes it easy for people to consume. You know, we got to think of people's schedule. If they don't have time to consume the content we're delivering, then they're gonna cancel. But what we want to do is we want to make it so easy for them to consume our content that just by consuming it, they're going to get value, but then it's going to make it easier to implement. And when they implement, that's when they're going to get the real value. So you got to make it manageable. So that's why I have one core piece of primary piece of content per week. And the way that I structure this is like in Michael's case, when we were developing his site, like he was super busy. Like he was on the road speaking, you know, 30, 40, 50 times a year. And that meant that, you know, a day on the front for travel, a day on the back, it meant that he was gone like over 100 days a year. And then in addition to that, he's like writing for his blog, and then he was publishing content on his podcast. Like he's like you, like publishing content, you know, in every which way possible. And dude, I get stressed just following you on Snapchat. I'm like, he's got to have a stunt double. Like there's no way this Russell's able to do all that he's able to do. Like he's definitely, I think you've got a twin that,
Don't
you know, yeah, I definitely think so. I think you've got a twin running around with Snapchat, and then there's you like working in the office, like, you know, making stuff happen. But anyway, so he was busy like Russell. So that's why he wanted to create a membership site, because he wanted to be home with his wife and his kids and all that stuff. So when we were structuring the content, we thought, okay, we have to structure this in such a way that we can create a lot of content in a short period of time. So the way that, I'll just tell you, this is one example, but I'll share with you how we structured the content for Platform University, because I know it'll give you, everybody listening, it'll give you ideas on how you can do the same for yourself. So we created 4 major pieces of content. The first piece was what we call a master class. So this is where either Michael would interview a subject expert, or we would interview Michael on one of his areas of expertise. But these would be video interviews that would last between 35 to 45 minutes. And the beauty about those is that we would schedule, let me back up. So that was the first piece of content. The second piece of content that we would create is called a backstage pass. So this was another video segment. This was usually between 10 to 15 minutes. And this is where we showed people the behind the scenes of what we were doing in Michael's, to grow Michael's business. So we would show like his blog stats, and we would show like where his most popular content is, and then he would talk about like how that influences the content that he's going to create for the future and his overall strategy. We would show how he produces his podcast. We would show like how we were creating the membership, all that kind of stuff, like behind the scenes. In fact, this is the funny thing. The most popular piece, one of the most popular pieces of content in the membership was the backstage pass, where Michael showed everybody how he packs his suitcase when he's going on the road for a speaking engagement. and I thought to myself, like, this is, we'll see if this is, you know, it's gonna fly. People loved it, and I gotta admit, like, I actually bought the suitcase that he was showing in the little video. I'm like, that is good. I can see how. I got it. I went and bought it. It was I think it's like called an Eagle Creek. It's been an amazing suitcase. But anyway, he had such strategy behind like the suitcase he picked and why he picked it, how he packed stuff, and it was amazing. But that was like an example of a backstage pass. It was super popular.
That's cool. The
third piece of content that we would create was, we called it Platform U How To. This was a text tutorial that showed people something very specific. It was very tactical, and it was all done in like a text, almost like a long form blog post, if you will. But it had a lot of like visual images and screenshots and all that kind of stuff to really walk people through doing something specific and tactical, like how to get 100+ comments on every blog post that you write. That would be something very specific, very tangible, and that's what those tutorials were designed to do. And then the fourth piece was a live Q&A with Michael. Okay, so given that those are the four pieces, here's what I want you to understand. We were able to create a year's worth of content over the span of 6 days. So we would create an entire year's worth of content for the membership in 6 days. And here's how we would do it. We would have 3 2-day video shoots throughout the year. And in that video shoot, we would do back-to-back-to-back-to-back-to-back interviews. And then we would schedule them in the membership. We would do back-to-back-to-back-to-back-to-back master classes, and then we'd schedule them. The platform You How To, that was contributed from an outside writer, so Michael wasn't responsible for that. So the only component that we were on the hook for every month was that live Q&A. But Michael wasn't the only one that led those. I led them, another person on our team, Mandy, she led them. And what we would do is, if on the months that Michael wasn't there, Michael would usually do about 8 of them a year. On the 4 months that he wasn't there, either myself or Mandy would lead the Q&A with the person, the expert that was on the master class that month. So it was very relevant. And so it was a super easy rhythm to get into, because Michael wasn't on the hook every month to create content. And now literally, like, we've gotten so far ahead of ourselves in terms of the content. Like, if we stopped creating content, that membership site could continue running, and it would run for well over a year without anybody touching anything. And so when you're designing content, you want to design it so that there's 2 things, so that you have 2 important things. One, so that the content is batchable, so that you can create it a whole bunch in a short period of time, and so that it's evergreen, so that, like, once you do schedule it, it's not going to become outdated and old once it's released. Does that make sense, Russell?
That's amazing, dude. Like, everyone watching, if that wasn't worth like a billion times more than like the time and energy and money put in this, like, that was amazing.
So here's what I would say. Like, if I were giving some unsolicited advice for Funneling University.
I love it. I want to hear it.
What I would say is, the training that you're providing people, tie it into that success path.
Yeah.
Create a success path to show them how and why it's relevant, so that they're always working towards something. Because a lot of membership sites, they never have a vision for their members in terms of, like, where this is all going to. It's always, typically it's like very short-term focus, like, here's something now, here's something now. But what we want to do is we want to have a vision. We want to cast a vision for people so they know where this is all leading to, and then show them how it fits in their journey toward that end destination.
Cool. Love it, man.
So whoop, there it is. All right, buddy. Now we're going to shift gears. We're going to focus on where Russell's gonna flex the pipes. We're going to talk about marketing.
My stuff's boring. Your stuff's, I heard my stuff before. I want to hear your skin. That's awesome.
Well, I want to hear your stuff. Like, when you launched Funnel U, what strategies did you use to kick that thing off to a big bang?
Yeah, so a couple things. And then I want to pick I have a very specific marketing question I want to ask you about, so don't let me forget. So a couple of things. First off, most people who are on this probably have heard me talk about the perfect webinar. And I had this, like, one day I was like, I bet you I could use a perfect webinar script like in a video as opposed to like in an actual webinar. And then I was like, what do we have that we're going to be selling soon that'll be that? And it was like Funnel University. So, like, if you watch the video, here, I'll scroll up to the top. If you watch the video on this, it's the perfect webinar script. I just did it in a video in my house. And like, I just did it, and it worked. And one thing was interesting, during this campaign, we had 2 different types of things we'd send out. One was like, go get this free offer. And, this free, go get this free thing, blah, blah, and like free thing, which did good. We got more people from there, but the percentage of people who took the yearly rate was way less, and people that bought the episode was way less. And the second one was, hey, go watch this video. I'm going to show you guys some weird marketing experience we've been experiencing online. And I just talked about the video, and they watched that. And we didn't get as many people, but almost everyone that bought the yearly came from people that the offer was go watch this cool training video. And people bought the upsell were almost 100% of the people that watched this video. And so what we found for longer term is like creating a really good, I don't know, perfect webinar. I'm going to start calling it the perfect sales pitch because it's perfect for everything. But like just a really good education piece that then sells the thing, I think is the best thing. So that was like, those are kind of two things. But everyone came here. I'm trying to remember what else. So that was the first thing. We use a perfect webinar to sell it. I wanted, again, I wanted to have something tangible to talk about, though. And so if you watch the webinar throughout the thing I'm talking about, there's only 3 funnels that actually matter. And I got this book about 3 funnels. And I'm like, I'm seeding this book the whole time and how great it is. And like, if you watch this video, then you find I get this book for free. Because I don't know about you, but I love having tangibles I'm talking about. Again, because membership sites are so intangible, right? And so like you can explain it, but it's hard to really get a good visual. Where with this is everything's very, very tangible. It's like this book is gonna show you 3 core funnels. Like I found 98% of all our income came from 3 funnels, and they're all 3 hooked together in a really magical way. I'm gonna show you the funnels and the email sequences and it's like when you have this, it's like this is the holy grail, right? And I knew we had this thing, Funnel University, coming, and I was in London, and I was like, I need something tangible. And on the flight to London, when I sat down, I started writing this book. So I was like, I need something tangible, and this was like an idea that I thought was like worth pursuing and like getting this in people's hands. Like this is like one of the best things I've ever put out because it
is really good.
Very specific.
Mine's in somewhere.
Yeah. And so for me, it's like, I want to create something amazing that's going to give people experience, but I want to use that because my other books didn't push people into a continuity. And I wanted this one to be the anchor that gets people in. Cause I thought like, I want everyone going through this concept first. Cause if they get this, it was similar to what you're talking about with your success or your, not success path, but your core training. Like I wanted everyone to be on the same page initially. And I thought this book was that process.
Totally.
And from there, I can kind of like start layering stuff on top of it. And so that was a big piece of it, was having that tangible.
And so did you sent stuff out obviously to your list? You were doing stuff on Facebook?
Yeah, primarily it was our list and it was Facebook. I think people wanted to promote it, but we didn't even, I think I had the affiliate tab afterwards. I forgot. And so that was the other thing I found out, and you know this, and this is where my question that I want to ask you about specifically is, but a lot of times with continuity stuff, people are like, okay, I'll sign up for that later. Like it was hard to get the urgency and scarcity. And so what we did, we started taking away things to give urgency and scarcity, which gave the big hockey stick of people signing up. So for example, the first day, like when we first launched, like I'm a big believer right now in Facebook Live. And Facebook Live, I don't think it'll be as amazing as it is forever, but there's this window right now where Facebook's trying to get us all to use it, which is why like, hey Russell, why do you Facebook Live every single day? Because it's making us a crap ton of money, right? And so that was the first thing. Like when this came out, like I just did Facebook Live, like check it out, guys, this is so cool. I showed the whole thing, and I just talked about how excited I was. And I was like, go to funnelu.com, go get it, go in. And that was like how we initially kicked it off. And then that video of me being so excited, John, who does all our Facebook ads in the team, again, Facebook's rewarding us right now for using it. So like ad costs are super cheap, click costs are cheap. So he just blasted that video out of me being excited about Funnel University for long. And we had, I think, over million something reach of that video, hundreds of thousands of views, which brought tons of people in. So that was a big part, obviously. Our email list was a big part. But for us, it was like we kind of had a beginning and an end of this campaign because I knew that I didn't want to shut it down. I think, again, this comes back to the question I have for you in a minute, but I know that people don't buy without urgency and scarcity. Those are our 2 magic weapons in marketing: is urgency, scarcity, and a really good offer. I think it was three good things, right? And so I needed urgency and scarcity, but because it was like, this is an evergreen membership site, like how do we cause that urgency and scarcity? And so we started adding things, and it's similar way to the way we filled up our funnel hacking event is we have this core offer and then we start taking things away. Like, hey, this cool bonus disappears midnight. And the next week, hey, this cool thing disappears. We started pulling pieces of the offer away. And that was what got people, outside the initial surge is like people got excited because of the cool new offer. Our fans and followers jumped on that. And then afterwards it was like, how do we get people to actually stop and take action? And it was the pulling of parts of the offer away with deadlines attached to them that drove the sales really, really fast and really hard through that 30-day window that kind of did it. And so that was part of the initial strategy. We have a longer term strategy of what we're going to be doing. In fact, I talked about it in one of, I think, issue 2 or 3 of the newsletter. Because inside of Funnel U, we got so many cool things. And while this is cool, I found that for me, typically on Facebook, when we come out with a new front end offer, it works really good for 6 to 8 weeks, and then ad costs start going up on it. And so it's like you have to reset it, refresh it. And so I'm actually waiting on an update from ClickFunnels that's going to make this process a lot easier before we kind of do it. But there's so many cool things inside of Funnel University. Like we've got our survey software, which is amazing. And I want to do the whole campaign now, just promoting the survey software and talking about that. And then go get the free trial and you get the software for free, and like using that as a new front end, and then doing a whole week-long campaign and Facebook Lives, all like focusing on that one piece that gets people in. And then inside the members area, there's a whole bunch of split testing reports that like nobody ever read. I think there's like 7 of them that have probably another 400 or 500 split tests that nobody's ever seen because it wasn't in the 108 split test book. And those are all those back archives are in the members area. And I think like pulling those out, like you've read 108 split tests, but here's 362 other tests I didn't even show you yet. And so like pulling out pieces of content as new leads to get people in, because as you know, like all of us respond to different things. Like some of you guys, like this was like, oh, I'm in, right? And you guys are like, I don't like to read, but like the software will be the thing that's like, I can do survey software, I'm in. You know, like there's different things. So I'm always consciously thinking. And also like a big thing for me from a marketing standpoint is that people consume things through different modalities as well. Like I know for me, like I don't think I've actually registered and watched a sales webinar for probably, I don't know, 2 or 3 years. And I don't even watch sales videos, but I like long form stuff I will read. Like I'm a reader now, which is weird because I didn't think I'd be. So I consume through reading. Other people consume better through video. Others are through webinars. So it's like mixing up the marketing throughout to target the different modalities of people, because different modalities will get different people to respond. And so those are some of the big things. It's funny because we did the big initial push for Funnel U, and we've been holding off on the next tons of these other pushes until there's like one update in ClickFunnels that'll make things easier for me on a back end standpoint. And so I'm kind of like biding my time until that. But those are some of the initial things we've done and where we are going longer term with the marketing behind it.
Well, there's a couple huge takeaways for people, because we found the same thing. Like one is that you can't market the membership site the same way month in and month out, because your marketing messages will just begin to fall on deaf ears. So they'll just become more and more irrelevant for people, and you'll just become noise. So you've got to switch up the focus of your marketing. Even though you're selling the exact same thing, you've got to switch it up on a regular basis. You know, so a couple of years ago, I was running another like high 6-figure membership, and we would do the same thing. It was open all the time, but every month we would have a new front-end focus to that membership site. So for us, it was content that we were creating inside the members area. But we would build a promotion around that one piece that was different, you know, and each and every month. And then what we would say is like, we would create so much value about that one piece, and we would say you could buy that one piece by itself for, in our case, $97, or you could join the membership and get it absolutely free for $20 a month. And so the person, again, if you think back to the conversation that we had earlier, they're like, I could pay one time $97, or I could pay $20 and I'm going to get it as well. Well, I'll just pay $20 and then I'll cancel. That's what we know that they're thinking, right? That's the first hurdle for us. We just want to get them in the door. Once we get them in the door, then we knock their socks off. So that worked for a long time because, like, again, it was a new offer every month, and as you said, Russell, different things are going to appeal to different people, but it was the content that was baked into the membership anyway. We just made it the focus, you know? Dude,
you just got like I've had this mental thing in my head of trying to figure out this thing, and you just like unlock the gates to millions of dollars for me. So, and I want to explain it back what I heard, because it's what you said, but I want to make sure everyone else gets it, because like if you miss that, like this will make me an extra $1 million this year minimum. So this is okay. So awesome. All right, so like let's just say this was like inside the members area, right? It's like all my graphs, and I'm like, so I make a new offer, new funnel. It's like, hey, check this out. You get all my sketches. How many want this cool little booklet? It's so awesome. It's only $100. Or go get Funnel University for free and you get it for free. Or go get Funnel, you know, whatever it is. And it's the decoy offer that makes that whole thing work. I've been trying to do the same thing and like position it of like, here's this thing. The value is $97, but you get it for free inside the members area, which is cool. But like what you just said is not cool. It's freaking amazing. Like, it's $100, or you get it for free, or you get it for, whatever that is. Like the decoy and having 2 order buttons, like
totally. And it's like people think that people think that you're stupid. You know, like when you make an offer like that, they're like, am I like, is this serious? Like, here's where I first discovered this. Dan Ariely wrote the book Irrational Thinking.
Oh,
What's it?
Yeah. So there's
Irrational Thinking. Okay, and I interviewed him. This was like years ago. And the one thing that I camped out on because it was so awesome was he told the story of the magazine The Economist. And I pulled it up here. I'm just going to write this because you'll love how they set this up. So, okay, online. So online is, okay, so initially they had two options for people to choose from. They could get the online magazine for $59, or they could get the print version for $125 a year. Okay, those are the two subscriptions that they were selling. So when you're comparing those two, which one do you think most people are going to pick, Russ?
Right, online.
They're going to pick the online, right? Because it's cheaper, right? Like, so that's the obvious one. So because when you compare those two prices together, they're like, oh, I can get the same thing for $59. Then they did something brilliant. I smile every time I think of this, dude. It's so awesome. Okay. I love marketing.
We get paid to learn this crap and then share it to other people. How cool is that?
Okay. So then they added a third option. You could get online plus print for $125. So what happens is the mind no longer compares online and print. It compares online and print, and you're thinking, wait a minute, that's the same price. I get both for the same price. I'm picking this one. And that's what most people did. So what happened is it took the comparison from, oh, hang on, my wife's calling me. Heidi, I'm talking to Russell.
We're live.
Okay. Oh, sorry, Amy. Sorry, I'm still on with Russell. I'm on a live webinar.
We love you, Amy.
Okay, love you. Sorry, I thought I pressed cancel, but I actually pressed. So that's my wife, ladies and gentlemen. She's just bringing the kids home. Okay. But anyway, what it did was it took the comparison from online to print, and it changed that so that most people now were looking at these two together, and they were seeing that it's the same dollar amount, but now they get this extra piece of the online, and so it's like it becomes a no-brainer. So the print is actually the decoy at this point. Like this is where they're focusing, and what happened is it took the average transaction size up significantly. I'm trying to see if they where he talked about it, but basically, long story short, it took the average transaction size up significantly because way more people were now taking like the print and the online option. So how is that all relevant for us? Well, if you're going to be selling your membership site on an ongoing basis, you have to have new front-end offers to mix up your marketing, because you're selling the same thing over and over and over again. And if you're going to the same people and you're trying to market it the same way, it's just going to fall on deaf ears. So you got to mix it up. So having those front-end offers, Russell, is going to make a world of difference for you. And positioning it where they can buy it standalone for a significantly higher price, or they can get it free as part of the membership for the lower monthly, it's going to make that super attractive. Now, here's the other big lesson that I learned about marketing, and it relates specifically to the question you asked about urgency and scarcity. Would you like to know what that is?
I think this is what the question I was going to ask you. So does that have to do with the fact that we're a platform university right now?
We don't have time. We've got to get into the retention strategy. No, I'm kidding. Okay, here we go. So with Michael, one of the things that we discovered was that we were open all the time. Like people could sign up for our membership site anytime and any month. And typically every month we would have like 100 to 200 new members sign up. And then what we realized was like, we just don't have the bandwidth to promote this month in and month out because we got other things that we want to sell. That's number one. And number two, our list we don't want to pound them every single month to join the membership. Like, you know, it just doesn't. For us, it just didn't feel right to basically sell the same thing over and over and over again. Even if we did switch up the front end, which we did. So what we did is we consciously made the decision to only open enrollment periods 4 times a year. So we said we would close the membership site so people could not join unless they joined during these enrollment periods that we had 4 times a year. Well, that worked exceptionally well. And then we went from 4 down to 2. So literally, people could only join the membership site 2 times a year. We had a spring enrollment and a fall enrollment. And the crazy thing was, we would sign up anywhere between, you know, when we went to quarterly, we were signing up anywhere between 500 to 700 members each promotion. When we went to, you know, 2 times a year, we were signing up anywhere between 2,000 to 3,000 members per year. And so what was happening was we were working way less, we were promoting way less, and we were signing up way more. And it created all that scarcity and urgency that we were looking for. But the best part is, then we could shift our focus to like actually like delivering great content. So what we found was like a lot of our focus in the membership site was like marketing it. And we wanted to put more of our efforts in actually serving the members and helping them get results, because that, you know, we would obviously use that in the marketing. So we got more bang for our buck with less effort and less work by reducing the number of public enrollment periods that we would have. Then what we would do, and then the reason, if we go back to our chart, this is the whole secret sauce. The reason that, so what would happen is during those enrollment periods, we'd have those big spikes like this. And the way that we were able to hold steady is that we would have an evergreen campaign set up that was like a backdoor way for people to sign up for the membership site. The only way they would be able to do that is if they came through one of our private funnels. So we had the 2 public enrollment periods, and then we had the evergreen campaign. And if anybody, if you go to platformuniversity.com right now, you won't be able to sign up. There's a wait list. So you can sign up for the wait list, but the only other way to sign up during the times when we're not promoting is through one of our ad campaigns. So that's how we were able to hold steady. And essentially, like, the number of members that we were signing up each and every month was enough to offset the number of the members that we were losing.
Dude.
So boom. So you can see there, like, so what we do is we incentivize people to sign up for the wait list. We give them one of our most popular master classes that we have done from inside there if they sign up for the wait list. And that's it. Yeah. So then, and so what some of my clients have done and do is that they have the public enrollment periods, they have the evergreen campaigns, and then every now and then we'll do like a waitlist campaign where it's like a 48-hour window to register, and it only goes out to the waitlist people. And so that's another way to, you know, to get a nice little bump. So like one of my clients I was just meeting with yesterday, I was doing a full day consultation with them in Toronto, and so they just launched their membership site for the first time. So they had they had 401 members sign up from a list of 7,000. And then what they're going to do is they're going to do a nice little bump, like over at the end of the summer here, and then they're going to do their next big promo in November. So the nice little bump is to the wait list, and that offsets that and the evergreen campaign usually offsets any members that you're losing, and then you wait for the big spike thereafter. That makes sense?
Amazing, dude. I love it.
All right, buddy. We got 2 more to quickly fly through. Here we go.
All right.
And we could camp out on marketing for days. Like, there's a lot more to marketing, obviously, but I want to get to the most important piece, which is retention. So here's the bottom line. Hear me when I say this. The money in memberships is in keeping people happy. So the longer somebody stays, the more money you will make. However, I will tell you that one of the biggest mistakes that people make is they spend all their time on the front end thinking about how to get new members in, and then they've got this leaky bucket on the back end, and they're losing people just as fast as they're adding them. And that is stressful, and that sucks. So I'm just telling you, you'll have way less stress and a way more profitable site if you focus on keeping people happy. So, Russell, we talked about a couple things that really work in your favor as it relates to retention. One of them is giving people a vision of where this is all going. So they have to see, like, this is not like a short-term thing. There's the success path is going to lead them to where they want to go, but there's milestones, there's stages along the way that they're going on this journey. And you got to give them values and something to stand for. I mean, you do this really well. Like, you got the us versus them. We're part of ClickFunnels, and there's we're part of the tribe. Like, you're really, really good at this.
Culture.
Totally, the culture. But that's part of it, right? Like, you got to give people something, a vision. You got to give them. You got to create some shared values. T-shirt swag. Yeah, mine right now is ET in a phone box. But anyways, but that's a big piece of it. Then the other big things that I would say about the reasons people stay. There's 4 reasons that people stay. So write these down. If we don't have any time to go on any further, as long as you understand these 4 things, it'll serve as the foundation for all your retention strategies. The number 1 reason that a person will stay part of your membership site is if they get results. So results is the number 1 way, or the number 1 reason that someone will stay part of your membership. So how does that influence your membership? You want to be committed to, like, helping people get results with what you're teaching. So one of my clients recently, he asked a great question. I mean, I freaking love working with smart people. And he asked a question that challenged me. He said, I have my own launch coming up for a course in August. And he said, how are you going to measure the success of your students? And I was like, in my case, I'm going to measure the success of my students based on the number of people who are launching membership sites, because that's what the course is about. And he's like, how are you going to track that? And I was like, dang, these are good questions. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm the coach here. Like, but it's a great, the thing I love about that is it shifts the focus. It shifts the focus on how are you going to really help people get results with what you're teaching? And how are you going to track that? And so, like, the whole success path that we just talked about, that's one way, because here's what can happen. You can have, at each stage, you can have milestones, things that they are accomplishing to get to know that they're making progress along their journey. So, Russell, you got stats baked into your funnels that are easy. Like, you could say, like, the success of a funnel is dependent on the number of people that are coming to the landing page. That's one measurement. Another measurement would be the number of people who are opting in to your whatever you're using to build your list. Another measurement would be the number of people that are buying and taking the upsell. Like, you have so many stats that you can help people determine whether they're succeeding or not, right? And that's one piece of it. Like, so there's so many things that you can help people with, but you got to give them something to measure their success by, and you got to keep them laser locked focus on those measurements. So the number 1 reason that somebody would stay is for results. The number 2 reason that they would stay is because of relationships that they build within your community. So I'm part of a membership. I pay a lot of money every year to be a part of this. A lot of money. The content that I get from this particular membership, it's good. It's definitely good. But the reason that I continue to pay a lot of money every month is because I've formed some unbelievable friendships. And yes, because we've got great friendships, we can definitely get together outside of, this membership. And we do. But the reality of it is we're all so busy that that membership serves as glue for us, because we know 3 times a year we're going to get together. And we've got such great relationships that those 3 times of the year, we're there to be with each other and to learn from each other and to soak up everything we can from each other. But the reality of it is if we were left by ourselves, if we didn't have this group, we wouldn't have the structure. We wouldn't have the dates on the calendar. And we know how it is. Russell, how many times have you and I talked about like getting together? Our family's going to come down and spend time with you guys. Your family's going to come up and spend time with us. And we're like, okay, we're doing it.
Like last 10 years, we've tried to plan it. It's never happened yet. You need
totally.
It's like $100,000 a year, then you'll come out here.
and then you pay $200,000 a year to come up here, and we'll be good. You know, like that for sure we do it.
I'm going to Kenya. Yeah.
That's true.
That's true. Kenya, like we could probably meet somewhere in America or Canada. I don't know.
But here's the thing. Relationships like that, people can definitely form and create relationships outside of your membership. But your membership gives people a reason to come together. And that's the most important thing. And so, like, why people stay as part of a membership, results is number one. If they're not getting results, it's a matter of time. But another great reason why people stay is because of relationships that they formed within your membership. Third reason is convenience. So if you can help people do something easier or faster, then they're much more likely going to stay. Case in point, the organic vegetables that we have delivered week in and week out, we're not going to quit because it's so convenient. At some point today, the doorbell is going to ring, and a box of vegetables and fruit are going to come in. I don't have to go to the grocery store. I don't have to go through the aisles and figure out what I got to get. I just get a bunch of goodness delivered to my door. That's super convenient. In fact, we had a dinner party here the other night because we had our board of directors for the charity that Amy and I run, and everybody was in town, and so we had a big dinner, and we invited our charity accountant team, like our accountants, and they all came, and she was telling us somehow Organic Live came up, and then she was like, oh yeah, you can get all of your groceries delivered online, and I was like, what? And she said, yeah, just go to I think it was grocerygateway.com, and I'm like, what? I'm like, that's amazing. Why? Because it's super convenient. I was thinking here would be an amazing membership. Russ, I bet you would love this. This is embarrassing to admit, okay? But I still have my winter tires on my car because I haven't been able to find the time to take the car to the dealership and get them switched out for my summer tires. It's going to be winter, in a couple months. I should just keep them on. So I got thinking, I'm like, it would be an amazing membership. I would easily do this. I would pay $250, $300, probably even $400 a month just to have a concierge service that could run these kinds of errands for me. Like a high quality, trusted concierge service that if I needed to change my tires, they could take my car to the dealership and switch my tires out.
That'd be awesome.
Or wouldn't that be amazing? And it would be all based around convenience. It would just be making things so convenient for people that they couldn't imagine living life without it. So convenience is the third one. And the fourth one is entertainment. But that's, again, it's really difficult for most of us to be entertaining. I mean, Russell, you're good at it. I mean, that's why I watch your stuff, watch your Snapchats every day.
You see our reality show, man. We have a whole online reality show launching with that.
I can't wait for it, dude. It's gonna be awesome. In fact, between the Snapchats and marketing in your car, I mean, this is the way that I I keep up to date with what's happening in one of my best friends' lives. I mean, but it's very hard for most of us to pull off the entertainment piece. So what that does is that shifts our focus to results, relationships, and convenience. So that serves as the foundation for your retention, and then you bake in strategies that are going to help your members get more results. You're going to bake in strategies that are going to help people form relationships. You're going to bake in strategies that are going to help create more convenience around what you're teaching. And when you do, your retention is going to go up, up, and up. So at a perfect example, when we would do a big launch for our membership, We'd literally have thousands of new members joining at one point. What we would do is we would go to the existing members and we would say, hey, we're about to do our fall enrollment. We're going to have thousands of new members joining. If you would like to be part of the welcoming committee, let us know so that when new members are joining, if you could reach out and say hi and welcome them to be part of our amazing community, that would be awesome. And so this was one strategy that we implemented to help people form relationships quick and early when they join the membership. And everybody listening here is creative. You're going to come up with a ton of different ideas. But as long as they are based around those core reasons why people stay, your retention will continue to go up and up and up. And my challenge to you is, with any membership site that you have, focus on increasing your retention every month. Implement one new thing every month that has the potential to increase your retention, and just chip away at it. I don't want to go too deep because I know we got to quickly cover the growth. But do you have anything to add to that?
Dude, you're the king of that. So I'm just taking notes and envisioning what I'm going to be adding. So the only other thing that we really figured out on retention side is like, and some of you guys hopefully see, if you go to funnelfridays.com, like showing you consuming your own products increases retention and gets them to consume more. I think that's one of the biggest things we've figured out in the last 6 weeks, is just me showing each week me consuming my products has been amazing. So I think doing that, like do your own Funnel Friday show. In fact, we're the biohacking business we're doing a biohacking show. It's going to be like me and Anthony plugging weird stuff in our nose and showing us doing weird stuff. People are like, oh, I want that. So I think showing consumption of your product is helps them to see how they
it's
can
going to be amazing.
Yeah.
And like when you guys start experimenting with like other things, like we'll actually see like different aliens like growing out of your body from all these biohacks that you guys are trying to experiment. Okay, I won't do that one. That's awesome. Okay, so the fifth thing is growth strategy. So this can just basically, I'll boil this down to make it super easy. I mean, there's obviously we can go deep on this, but when you start to really want to scale the business, and we did, like we grew from like high 6-figure to high 7-figure pretty quick. You got to know your numbers. So you got to know, you talk about this all the time, Russell, and it's so true. You got to know your cost to acquire a customer. You got to know your retention rates, like how, what percentage of your membership is staying. And then you want to know your drop-off points. When do people typically drop off? Is it after month 2? Is it after month 3? Is it after month 6? And you'll see it. When you track it over time, you'll see that the majority of people are dropping off at a certain point. And there's typically, like you'll see, it'll go like 3 months and then boom, there'll be a dip, or like 6 months and then it'll go down. So there's, depending on your membership, there's specific drop-off points. You want to know what those are. And then you want to focus on automating as much as possible. You want to grow your team to support the membership. So many people are so afraid to do this, but I can't tell you the value you will get back by investing in a community manager as early as possible. Somebody who owns the culture of your membership. Because when somebody owns that, they're looking out for the best interests of your members, and that's what you want. And so you have to have, as early as possible, you got to have a community manager. But that's just one of the many roles that you want to have. And then growing in phases. And I basically break this down. There's 4 phases of growth. The first phase is the planning phase. It's kind of like when you're, everything's wet cement and you're just planning. The second phase is when you're launching. And so that's usually like a 2-week, 3-week, maybe 2 or 3 week period. And then your growing phase. And the growing phase is where you're just getting your sea legs as it relates to a membership site. And typically this can last anywhere from 1.5 to 3 years, where you're just growing and you're learning as much as possible about your numbers. And then the scaling phase is thereafter. And that's because you know your numbers, and now, boom, you can invest big because you know everything's is proportional. Does that make sense?
Yeah. That's interesting.
Anyways.
It's funny, in our business, it seems like people focus so much on the launching, of businesses and not the other side. And that's like a trap I got stuck in for over a decade, because like we learn how to launch a business, we launch it, and we're like, now what do we do? And then you're like, let's launch another business. And like, I didn't become truly wealthy until I shifted from planning to launching to growing. and it's different. It's different strategy, different ideas. You have this different conversation in your head. But when you focus there and master that, like I said, this first time I felt like I'm truly financially independent. I don't have the stresses. Like things are just working because we're focusing on the growing of it, as opposed to like, okay, crap, we got another launch coming. What should we sell to? And like, for me, that was a 10-year cycle we were stuck in. It was horrible.
Yeah, and you're way more patient now. You know what I mean? Like I think online it's we're so quick to desire and go after that instant result that we don't take the time to be patient with our marketing, and we don't take the time to be patient with our business and grow it in a slower fashion. It's attractive to hear about like the overnight successes. But the people that have sustainability, the people that are hanging around for a long time, they are focused, as you said, on the back end of it. They're focused on keeping members happy, because in a membership business, in a continuity business, the money is made in retention. Keep people happy. And so, anyways, it's for me, I love this stuff. I can geek out on this stuff all day long, because here's the other thing. Here's the reason why I love this stuff. If you and I, and I know when I say you and I, Russell, I know you and I are in this camp, but I'm referring to everybody else. For everybody who's listening, if you really do want to have an impact on your own life, on the lives of your family, on the lives of your community, or even on the world, there is no better business to be in than a membership site business. Because if you can dial this in, and you can, because it's not that difficult when you have a few of these key concepts that we talked about here today. When you get this dialed in, you have that income coming in on a recurring basis. And when it comes in on a recurring basis, it's like it removes all stress. Like as Russell said, like before, like business was stressful when you're chasing new customers every month. Like it's like, gotta launch. It's like so stressful because you got to come up with something new all the time. It's like hitting the reset button.
Yeah.
But like with a membership site, God, it's like a snowball. You just keep building and building and building. It just gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's so much more exciting, so much more stable and stress-free and all that kind of stuff. And so anyway, I'm a huge believer in it. And oh, my son's saying hi. He wants to go jump.
Yeah.
But I'm a big believer in it because, one of my highest priorities is to have impact in this world. And I know the more money I make, the more impact I can have. And there is no better business, if you want to have impact and you want to change the lives of yourself, your family, community, and the world, than a membership site business or a subscription business. So I live, eat, and breathe what we talked about today, and hopefully people got some good takeaways. Russell, I appreciate you sharing, buddy. I wrote down a number of things that you shared about the trials and some of the marketing stuff that you guys use on the front end, and you're the master at offers. I mean, God, dude, I want to do a whole other call where I just geek out with you on the offers. I just want to save that for Kenya. But anyways, thanks. I appreciate you having me here today, buddy.
No, man, I appreciate you and everything you do. You've been a huge inspiration to me in my life, and just grateful that you're here. And hey, grateful we can hang out next week in Kenya. And for everyone who's on here as well, thanks for your contributions. Thanks, everybody. Hope you guys have a good time. If you did, go to the question box and say, "Stu, we love you." Because that was awesome. I got enough nuggets for myself, and if you guys didn't get something out of that, then maybe you shouldn't be here. But I think it was awesome, so I appreciate you, man. With that said, go swim with your son, man. Have some fun, and I'm gonna see you here in a week or so. So I appreciate you.
I know it's gonna be awesome. I can't wait. All right, guys, thank you so much. I appreciate it, Russell. Thank you for everyone listening. Cheers.
Bye.